Okay guys, hey, what's up? Okay, so today we're going to be talking about exchange rate regimes. Okay, so what is an exchange rate? Okay, it is basically the value of one currency to be exchanged for another. Okay, so as we know, one US dollar, okay, is equivalent to 7.8 Hong Kong dollars. Actually, it's within a band, but that's kind of like the exchange rate that's been fixed for a long time. Okay, so what's the equivalent value in terms of Hong Kong dollar? Okay, so it's basically the reciprocal. Okay, so it's 1 over 7.8, which gives you 0.128 US dollars. 1 Hong Kong dollar is equals to 0.128 USD. Okay, so in general terms, the value of 1 US dollar is equivalent to 0.67 euros. Okay, so how do we work out what the equivalent of 1 euro is in terms of US dollars? Basically, it's a reciprocal. 1 over 0.67 gives you 1.5 USD. Okay, 1 euro equals to 1.5 USD. Okay, so there are actually three main exchange rate regimes that we're going to be looking at. Okay, and so for freely floating exchange rates, okay, it is an exchange rate regime where the exchange rate is determined by the forces of demand and supply. Okay, by the market forces. What about for fixed exchange rates? Okay, it is an exchange rate regime where the exchange rate is fixed to another currency or basket of currencies. It is still susceptible to the forces of demand and supply, but the government would intervene through the central bank to fix the value of the currency to another, hence the name fixed exchange rate regime. Now, okay, so we'll first look at freely floating exchange rate systems. This is a graph of the US dollar market, okay? And this should not become as a surprise to you, okay? Should be very familiar. You have the supply curve, which shows the supply of US dollars, the demand curve for the demand of US dollars, and let's take a look at the axes, okay? On the vertical axis, you have euros per dollar, okay? Euros per dollar. Now, many people get confused because they think about the market for US dollars. Why is it in terms of euros then? Remember, exchange rate is determined of the value of one currency in terms of the other, okay? So we want to know what the value of one US dollar is, okay? So therefore, we need to know what the value of it is denominated in euros, right? Just like, so you can just treat the dollars here as kind of like a good, like apples or oranges. Euros per apple, euros per orange, okay? And as you can see, if you look at the horizontal axis, it's quantity of dollars, kind of like quantity of apples, quantity of oranges, okay? So here it's euros per dollar. At the equilibrium, okay, which is the intersection of the supply and demand curve, you have 0.67 euro per dollar, okay? And this is the exchange rate, okay? The equilibrium exchange rate. At 0.5 euros per dollar, okay, you have excess demand of Q2 minus Q1, okay? And at 0.8 euros per dollar, okay, there is an excess supply of dollars of Q2 minus Q1. Now, let's look at the market for euros, okay? First of all, I want to just say that this diagram is kind of like a mirror diagram of the the market for US dollars, okay? At the equilibrium price of 1.5 dollars per euro, okay? Remember, we've switched it around now, okay? We're looking at the good here is euros, and we're trying to find out the value of dollars. And the equilibrium price is 1.5 dollars per euro, okay? Now, how did we get this number from? This is basically the same as 1 over 0.67, okay? Remember, because all we need to do in order to convert the exchange rate from one to the other is just do a reciprocal, 1 over that value, okay? Now, at 1.25 dollars per euro, as you can see here, there's an excess demand for euro. And you're thinking, oh, well, if 1.5 euros per dollars per euro is the same as 0.67 euros per dollar in the left-hand diagram, what's the corresponding value for this 1.25 dollars per euro then? We can try and work this out, okay? At 1.25, there's an excess demand for euros, okay, of Q2 minus Q1. That means that people want a lot of euros. If people want a lot of euros, that means they don't want as much US dollars then. Okay, so here we expected in US dollar market there will be an excess supply of dollars, right? Because people don't want it, right? And as we can see here, it is, if we just do 1 over 1.25, it's 0.8. Okay. Similarly, at $2 per euro, there is an excess supply of euros. Here, people don't want the euros. They're supplying a lot of it. That means that people want the other currency. They want the dollar. Okay. So where do we see on the left-hand side diagram that there's an excess demand? Well, it's 0.5, and surprise, surprise, 1 over 2 dollars per euro gives you 0.5 euros per dollar. Okay. Remember, the price is expressed in terms of the other currency. Just some definitions. Okay. So appreciation. It is an increase in the value of currency in a floating exchange rate system. It is critical that you know that it is in a floating exchange rate system, because it's often asked in the exam, and if you don't write this down, you don't get the full marks. Okay. And for depreciation, it's a decrease in the value of a currency in a floating exchange rate system. Okay, straightforward enough. Okay, so in this diagram here, okay, this is the market for US dollars. Okay, is an appreciation, a rise in the value of US dollars or euro. First thing that you need to know is what market it is. Okay, the graph clearly says that it's a US dollar market. Okay, therefore appreciation, just basically it's an appreciation in the US dollar. Okay, now let's assume that the supply curve stays constant. Does an appreciation in US dollar involve a rightward or leftward shift in the demand curve? That's very simple enough. Okay, it leads to a rightward shift in the demand curve. Okay, more is demanded at each and every price level. Now, another way of looking at this is that because the demand for US dollar has increased, okay, more euros are needed to purchase that $1 of USD. And as you can see here, the equilibrium price of the dollar has increased from 0.67 euros per dollar to 0.9 euros per dollar. Now, as you can see here, what is actually happening at these 3 points? Okay, what's happening at A and B and C respectively? As we have learned from the 3 functions of price, okay, at 0.67, okay, there's an excess demand of US dollars, right? Here, the 3 functions of price kicks in, okay, the signaling, the rationing, and the incentive function of price kicks in, okay. Let's look at a point A, okay, from the supplier side, right? Suppliers are seeing, oh, there's a lot of excess demand for dollars. That means that, and then the price has increased. When the price has increased, okay, it is signaling for me to enter the market to supply more. And it's also providing an incentive for me to provide more, because I can earn more profit, okay? Therefore, the quantity supplied would increase from Q1 to Q3. What about at point B? This is from the demand side, right? When the consumers see that the price has risen, right, they're disincentivized to buy as much. And also, it is signaling for them to leave the market, okay? And therefore, the quantity demanded would decrease from Q2 to Q3. And at point C, this is where the market clears. The rationing function can be seen when the market rations, because there's now more demand, okay? You want all the way up to Q2 at 0.67. Sorry, you cannot have that much. You can only have Q3. It's kind of that kickback that is the rationing function, okay? The diagram on the right is the market for euros. And just like before, even when we have a shift in the market dynamics, it's basically a mirror image, okay? As the demand for US dollars has increased, okay, in the diagram on the left from D1 to D2, people are buying more US dollars. What are they buying that with? Well, they can only be buying that in this scenario with the euros, right? So on the one hand, they're buying the dollars in, and on the other hand, they are selling that euro, okay? They're giving the euros away. Therefore, okay, in the market for euros, the supply curve increases at each and every price level. And as you can see, the supply curve shifts from S1 to S2, okay? And the equilibrium price drops from 1.5 to 1.11, okay? And you may have already guessed this. but 0.9 euros per dollar is equivalent to 1.11 dollars per euro. Okay? And therefore, on the one hand, in the market for US dollars, you have an appreciation. Okay? And in the market for euros, you have a depreciation as people are selling off the euros to buy more dollars. Now, let's just take a look at, do some exercise, okay? Explain whether each of the following affects the demand or supply of the Hong Kong dollar, okay? Businessmen, okay, in Hong Kong, invest in a building in Canada, okay? Well, since they're investing money into Canada, right? So that building in Canada, the person that's selling it probably wants to be paid in Canadian dollars, okay? So therefore, in order for the person to pay for that building, he needs to buy Canadian dollars, okay? And therefore, in order to exchange for Canadian dollars, he needs to sell, okay? So it affects the supply side of Hong Kong dollars, okay? Mexican importer buys goods from Hong Kong, okay? So when they buy goods from Hong Kong, they need to pay in Hong Kong dollars, okay? Therefore, the demand for Hong Kong dollars increases. Hong Kong resident travels to Spain as a tourist, okay? When a Hong Kong resident goes to Spain, he needs to exchange for euros, okay? Not Spanish dollar, okay? Students also telling me Spanish dollar. No, it's euros, okay? They need euros. So they buy euros. Well, what with? With Hong Kong dollars. So therefore, they have to sell off the Hong Kong dollars. So it's affecting the supply side, okay? And Hong Kong contributes to foreign aid in Greece, okay? People in Greece probably doesn't want Hong Kong dollar, okay? They want to have euros, okay? So therefore, people in Hong Kong, they have to buy buy the euros, okay? With Hong Kong dollars. So they're supplying the Hong Kong dollars out, affecting the supply side in exchange for the euros. Therefore, the answer is the supply side of Hong Kong dollars.